You know, I always wanted to make some sort of warning screen before the video starts. Even something like a spoiler warning. It didn't really matter what it was, as long as it made the video look more professional. It would also grab the viewer's attention, right? Now you know this is serious stuff, so you're probably intrigued to see what it's all about. In exactly the same way, I was intrigued when I first launched Voices of the Void and saw this screen. I didn't know what an Omega warning or cognito hazards meant in this context, and I was even more confused now after seeing the game's itch.io page. There, the game was described very simply, and although it did mention secrets and mysteries, all the screenshots looked so very nice and peaceful that I didn't know what to think right off the bat. Well, I actually kinda did. I looked into the game's backstory, figured out it was inspired by a different game that followed the same premise of collecting signals from outer space. That I think is a cool idea, although I haven't played Signal Simulator myself, so I'm not sure how much Voices takes after that game. I also learned that the developer of Voices had a different game project before this, and that both games seem to take place in the same universe, or at least have many ties. Both Signal Simulator and the previous game, Advanced Education, looked like they were hiding something as well. So I was going into this knowing at least that much. Like with covering any other game, we have to start at the very beginning, but unlike any other game, here we start in the tutorial. On the surface, it's nothing to write home about. Basic linear layout with text nodes that explain what's up and down in extensive detail, props and objects to practice on, basically everything a basic tutorial needs. But now, we look a little deeper. What's this text node? Seems kind of out of place, and why is the ending so abrupt and strange? Almost slightly aggressive. You wouldn't be wrong to think that something was off. You can actually get out of the tutorial area, and if you do, you'll end up somewhere that I can only describe as the backrooms. I will admit, the process is a bit complicated to explain, and I did this on an older version, 0.7, but if you do everything right, you'll end up here, a completely dark maze, where you can find this message. This is where I close the tutorial and start playing the story mode. I'm just kidding, I didn't run into anything in the maze. But that's not because there's nothing in here. I actually don't know. What if there is? I'm going off script. What if there is something in this maze? I don't know. The game never told me that there is or isn't anything in here. It was just like, okay, so don't make a sound. It hears you. What if there is something in here? Anyways, managing to find your way out, you run into more common backroom-esque architecture. Guys, oh, I'm somewhere else. I don't like this either, bro. What is this? You got some pipes running along the walls of dimly lit rooms, weird floor layouts with pools of water, a circular room with floors of doors. Good luck finding the right one here. Guys, it's a little bit like backroomy. They're all locked away. Who's locked away? Don't tell me there's like one of these doors is unlocked, bro. You can't do this to me. I will check. I'll check every door. You don't you worry. Yeah, I wouldn't be so sure about it. Oh. Okay, never mind. Eventually, you do reach the end. A large open room looking up into the sky. 2 deep pools cover most of the floor area. The 2 nodes in this room are no different from the rest. More weird text. And one of them isn't even accessible normally, so I had to look up forum posts to see what it said. These posts also served as a guide for me to explore the backrooms in the first place, so I'll link them down below if anyone else ends up being curious enough to do some of their own digging. Back to the main tutorial area, there are still a few more places you can reach from here. First, there's this room with a deep water hole in the center. Getting here means climbing the ledge in the first tutorial room and then breaking the back wall at the end of the tunnel. Thing is, this tunnel used to be different and had a jump scare in it at one point that got removed, which honestly, it's good, because it was just too damn loud. In the room, there's a text node with what looks like a warning about the hole, advising you against going down into the depths. Of course, I ignore it, and, well, you can see what happens. The other area requires you to hit the debug TP keybind, which normally teleports you to the center of the map if you end up getting stuck or soft locked. Surprisingly, the center of the tutorial map isn't the start, but a separate area entirely, a long hall with various faucets running down both sides. Now, tell it to me straight. If I showed you this, would you in a million years guess that this is in the game's tutorial? I mean, I find this to be a good example of what kind of game Voices of the Void truly is. Remember, the deeper you look, the more you'll find. The game starts with you already on site, past the entry gate, standing on a gravel path leading you further into the territory. With you is a small sticker-covered suitcase containing the few personal belongings you have, essentials, mostly. It's midnight as you arrive, and with the stars high overhead, you set down the gravel path that is lit up by your flashlight and the occasional dim lamppost. It's a short trip, but an uncomfortable one at that, as the dark forest all around you shrouds the terrain and unseen creatures lurking through the night. Okay, I'm joking. Am I? Managing to follow the right path and avoiding getting lost, you'll eventually reach the main base, located next to the river with a radio tower just past it. The front door, while having a code lock, is unlocked for some reason, and inside, the place is a mess, with trash and smudges all over the floor and walls. It's hard to imagine how someone could have worked here. Of course, now you're the only one here, and the responsibility to keep this place in good shape falls on you, so you can probably guess what you'll be doing a lot of in the near future. Just as it was shown in the tutorial, here is, I guess, what you could call the bread and butter of the game. Collecting, analyzing, and refining signals from space in the hopes of finding something interesting. Sparing the details, the process is pretty hands-on, as you get to find and refine those signals yourself, upgrading the workstation to improve your productivity, to collect more high-quality signals, to make more and more cash. On top of that, there are also 24 satellites positioned around the central base, and 3 transformers spread across the premises. It's your job to oversee all of these parts of the system, maintaining them in working order to be able to meet the daily quotas and secure the paychecks. Then there's the desktop computer, which has a surprising amount of functionality: a shop, camera viewer, and a signal cataloging and upgrade systems. Opening your mail, you have 2 messages, one from Dr. Bao and another from Professor Leah. Both emails are basic rundowns on the tasks that you're expected to perform, like hashing the satellites and processing signals. Luckily, as this is the first day, you aren't expected to provide any signal data yet, so you get this time to familiarize yourself with the surroundings and learn the ropes with the machinery. Now, I actually played Voices a long time ago, and back then the main base had a very different layout. With this version of the game, the base gets expanded upon massively, adding a whole new floor, larger garage, and renovating the layout of the main workroom, separating the server racks and putting them in a separate little room on the side. This version also adds a basement for the breaker box, and I won't lie, that place is, well, it creeps me out. Going down there for the first time, it's almost completely dark, so of course they have to have mannequins standing around the corners. Ignoring them, you have the aforementioned power switches to the base, alongside a new contraption added in the recent large update, an incinerator. So far, so good. The switches are completely normal, and even the incinerator isn't that weird if you consider how remote this place is and how we need some way of disposing of our trash permanently. What I can't explain and reason is the heavy locked door with what appears to be hanged cow corpses on the other side, and a pile of human bones hidden behind the crates in the corner. It's unsettling, to say the least, and it brings up a lot of questions about what happened here in the past for this place to end up like this. I say this, but what can we really do? Can't open the door. I mean, I guess we could get rid of the bones and human skull, but we don't get any answers to our questions. So for now, all we can really do is just ignore it. Going the opposite way upstairs, the new layout second floor has two rooms, your bedroom and a room above the garage linked to a small cargo lift. The small room is empty, apart from a comedic amount of trash piles and a cleverly placed mannequin leaned against the door from the inside. The bedroom is less trashed, but has three bunk bed frames for some reason, which are a real pain to get rid of. Besides that, you have your basic essentials like a microwave and a fridge for food, a small bathroom, and your bed where you'll be sleeping. Oh! That that sounds like a pillow like filled with concrete, bro. I swear. Okay. All this in the suitcase confirms any potential lingering suspicions. Yes, you will be staying here for the duration of your work, however long that may take. Back downstairs, there's still the garage, where you'll find an ATV alongside the control panel for the drone, which will be used to deliver orders and send off your daily reports and signals. There's also another code-locked door near the front, with the password being 12345, written on a nearby note. Not sure why the main hallway light switches are here instead of in the hall, but either way, it feels safer to have the base lit up, so I keep these switches on at all times. Well, I guess that pretty much covers most of the base, so now it's back to the control room to learn the basics. To start off, you need to find a signal on the sensor and attempt to ping it. If you succeed, then the detector will start analyzing said signal, and you'll be able to adjust its polarity and frequency in order to tune into and download the signal. Once it's finished downloading, you can transfer it to the playback station and then play it or write it onto the drive, and plug it into the processing unit to improve the signal's quality, up to 3 times. On top of all that, Dr. Bao will ask you for a daily satellite checkup, so you'll have to go out to 3 of the satellites and write their hash codes on a piece of paper. Then you'll be able to put the drives in a box, stick the paper on the lid, and send the whole thing off by drone to complete the daily task. Doing that base tour, the sun is now rising over the forest, and with you still not being too tired, it's a good opportunity to get out and explore and get familiar with the environment. I used the map in the main room as a starting point, since it showed elevations alongside both satellite and transformer locations. That's a good rhyme. The new update brought about a complete overhaul to the terrain, making it a lot more interesting to explore. Now, instead of simple hills of varying heights and angles, there are steep, rocky slopes, paths that cut through the ground, and even new, sturdier-looking trees. I mean, look at this. Here's the old version, here's the new version. You can see which one's obviously better. I decided to check out the Transformers first, mainly because their position would allow me to cover a good portion of the map as I travel, in this sort of triangle shape. Obviously you take the ATV here. Walking isn't something you'll want to do, it's slow, plus it drains your stamina more. Reaching the first Transformer, it's in a pretty sparsely forested area. Inside is relatively clean, and the whole thing looks a lot better compared to its previous version, now larger with an additional cluttered room on the side. Checking it out, there are some papers scattered on the table, and taking a closer look, this is what they say. From the ground, like an undead. It was chasing me all the way up to the booth. Tried to lock. Bones. Glowing eye. Making weird, ungodly sounds. Hammer. This thing does not care. The bite felt like a hydraulic press. Kicked its leg. And they keep the money. This is a cursed place. No wonder they drop less and less people here. The fence. I do not care if they shoot me from these towers. The forest is dense enough. Pour gasoline in an empty bottle. 2 pieces of paper. Craft. Enough damage. Collapsed into pieces. More this night. They keep. So I think it's safe to assume that whoever wrote these worked here sometime before us. The more concerning part about this are the actual note contents, bits of which seem to talk about some sort of creature, bones, glowing eyes, something undead. I assume the second page continues about the creature before the writer pivots to the lack of pay in this place, calling it cursed, wanting to escape into the forest. Finally, the third page looks like a recipe for Molotov cocktails, which the writer used on something. The stranger approves. Something I haven't mentioned yet are the wind turbines, which are one of the first things you'd notice when you go outside. These were added recently, so as I drove past them, I was interested in seeing them up close. Oh! Let's climb. Oh shit, I can just climb right up. Let me save game. Let me just save the game before I proceed to just fall, like slip, like whoop. Banana peel sound effect off of the wind turbine. Boy, this is peak. Turns out each of them has a ladder on the inside, leading to the very top. A great vantage point, even better than the one you get from the tower near base. Dude, what a view, though. Okay, I want to go over to that mound, see what that mound is all about. I'm gonna save the game before I proceed to just fall, like, slip, like, whoop. No! Please! Please! I'm alive. I'm alive. Alright. Yeah, so falling from this height is a guaranteed death. What you could do is you could turn off all the physics damage in the experimental settings tab, and honestly, you'd be saving yourself a lot of trouble if you did. I don't mean this about just falling either. I don't know how many times I ended up driving the ATV off a sheer cliff or just ended up flipping it and getting myself killed. Thing is, the ATV used to be better too, and the physics damage wasn't as punishing before. It was actually pretty funny most of the time. That was so wrong play. God damn it, dude. Now, it's just really annoying. All of the time. After the small detour, I continued by visiting the other Transformers, but they weren't as interesting. They're more cluttered, have some basic supplies like batteries and gasoline, but I didn't find anything like the notes from the first one. Well, actually no, I did find a pile of bloody meat out behind the third Transformer building, with no other body parts or gore nearby. Not sure what to think of this. Oh, shit. Oi! Oh my god, that's... No way, that scared me. Okay, let me go. Okay, bro. All right. Dude. Oh my god. I don't want any part of this. Oh, there's also this thing. Yeah, this right here is what peak environmental storytelling looks like, by the way. Yeah, okay, it's not gonna work. Yeah, so dude, somebody was fighting for their life so hard they fucking knocked the door off. That's okay. First day is going well. Found the lab in a pretty sorry state, but something tells me I'll be having a lot of free time, so I'll be able to clean this place up. Dr. Bao was nice enough to not load me up with work on the first day, so I got to get out a bit, scouting the surroundings. The whole signal collecting process seems to be quite similar to my training, which is a relief. I don't even want to think about how much time I spent learning the ropes. Anyways, I guess that's it for now. It's only like 2 p.m., but I'm barely standing on my feet, so I'll go get some sleep before the real work starts. The workday starts at midnight. You get an email detailing what is expected from you today, and you receive daily supplies via drone, an empty drive, and one MRE. You get the full 24 hours to deliver the drive box and hashes, but getting those hashes requires you to go out to the specified satellites individually, meaning you have to go outside. And tell me, do you want to go outside right now? You know, not the biggest fan of being out in a forest in the middle of the night. It's kinda really dark. It's also pretty cold, so I prefer if I was indoors right now. I find nighttime to be the best time to work on gathering the signals, just like how exploring outside is best done during the day. Signal collecting isn't the only thing you can do during this time though. There's cleaning, but also there is some important stuff in the next room over, that being the servers and the console. The servers, 30 in this room and another one in each satellite, affect your processing and download speeds respectively. Keeping them operational is pretty important if you want to gather signals consistently, and if they do break, you can fix them by completing a small math minigame, receiving a small amount of money if completed correctly. There's this whole thing with the timer here. Normally you get 5 points per fix, but if you get a time record as well, a different sound will play, and you'll get 15 points instead. I didn't think of doing this, but you could exploit the system by getting a slow time first, which you can then slightly beat out over and over to squeeze more cash. Thing is, there's better ways to get lots of money faster, so instead I went for gold. Oh! Yes! 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 Yeah, 6.3, and I'm kind of pretty good at this. The console is just a little bit more complex than the servers. I mean, you can type full text commands into it in a similar way to Lethal Company. The two main uses for the console are to check on the various servers and transformers to see if they're broken or not, and to then point the compass at them to be able to find and fix them easier. Besides that, the console has a few more commands, like one to calibrate the satellites, to increase download speeds, and various helpful commands for the radar, like the sound toggle, which will be very useful later on. Trust me on this. Oh yeah, there's also a bunch of miscellaneous commands which you can use if you turn on the funny setting in the settings. If you want, you can look them up on the wiki. I mean, some of these are quite something. The first couple of days you collect signals, you won't really hear anything interesting because the signal quality is poor, unrefined, resulting in bland static. And the fact the low quality signals sell for less means you'll probably want to buy the signal processing upgrades as soon as possible. Do that, and now you'll want to buy all the other upgrades as well to speed up the process, so you'll find most of your earnings going right back into the setup, leaving you with crumbs. This turns the first few days of even the first week into a balancing act, spending as much as possible on upgrades while still having enough for food and the occasional gadget from the store. All this being said, of course you still have to wait around a lot for the signal to download or process or whatever, so you have that time to do other things. I mean, cleanup. Lots and lots and lots of cleanup. Walls and floors and ceilings and windows covered in grime and dirt, bits and piles of trash in every single corner of every single room, large crates stacked on top of each other and props and furniture toppled all over the place. Cleaning this place will take at least a week. Definitely more than that, I can tell you from experience. The one saving grace we have is the incinerator down in the basement, capable of burning up pretty much anything as long as it fits inside. But all the trash still needs to be put in there by hand, and that's a chore that shouldn't be underestimated. Yeah, also one thing about cleaning the windows, you actually need to wet the sponge first, since the windows smear don't come off as easily as the others. I don't know, this is never explained, but yeah. And even then, it's going to take you a pretty long time to clean it because the sponge is pretty bad at... It's just... It took a while. I mean, it took me like a whole night to do this. So, you know, if you want to do that, good luck. I'd wait until you can buy something like a pressure washer. Or actually, another alternative could be a bucket. You can get a bucket. You can find a bucket somewhere, and then you could use that. You can fill it up with water, and it's actually pretty cool because you have this bucket, and you have water inside the bucket, and it's kind of cool. I didn't think the game would do this, and you can splash it on the window and clean it up a little bit. Sun comes up again, and I go out to fix the servers or get hash codes, and I end up wandering off, exploring parts of the forest around the satellites, or going to check up on the transformers, maybe picking up a few items here and there. This usually leads to finding something out in the woods, be it a structure or landmark or something else. The point is, there's a lot to find out here. Oh, he's too good. What? What is going... What? Oh! And one of the biggest locations you can come across is the construction site, located near the third transformer, around here on the map. It's across the river south of the main base. Located on top of a hill, it consists of a few empty barracks, a large gravel mound, and a partly fenced-off enclosure with a hole in the center. It's so deep that you can't see the bottom. Looking around the enclosure, you find various junk, tools, supplies, and a note on one of the tables that reads, Day 41. We finally got more financial support for our mission. We can get deeper this time. But today I noticed something interesting. The hole made one deep, bassy sound. Couldn't record it, and I don't know if it was naturally made, but it sounds like really deep metal squeak. This hole is pretty weird. This note is different from the ones we found prior, having a day count at the top, and the writing is more coherent, not like the bits and pieces of text on the other pages. The note and the rest of the location would imply that there was some sort of construction work being done here, a deep drilling operation, or something like that. What I find strange is how all these supplies in this note are still here, but all the people are missing, and we don't know if there's anyone on this territory besides us. There are those bones and skull in the basement, but there aren't enough of them to account for multiple workers here, so I'm not sure what happened to them. One other location I stumbled upon early on in the playthrough was a small dilapidated wooden shack near the first transformer, northeast of the main base. Examining the outside, there are a few bones lying around nearby, and the shack itself is barricaded, forcing you to mantle onto the roof to get in. Inside, it's pretty barren. Dirt instead of a proper floor, and a single red fern growing in one of the corners. Inspecting it closer, you can find a shovel and a deer skull inside the leaves. A useful tool, and, well, I mean, the skull looks pretty cool, right? You could use it as a decoration or something. Just, whatever you do, don't microwave it. So it's been a few days. The work is fine, the setup is quite slow, but I guess I can improve it with my funds. Although I don't know why they couldn't have done it themselves before I arrived. Apparently the transformer buildings are also trashed just like the base, and I found some concerning notes in one of them. Hopefully I won't have to use that Molotov recipe, but maybe I should make a few just in case. This place still creeps me out, especially the basement. And no, I'm not ignoring the human fucking skull. I just don't have much of a choice. I gotta work. I didn't mess up even though okay, it looks like it. 74, nice. Okay, so we have a big paycheck to work with. Upgrade download speed a few times. Upgrade processing speed a few times. Let's do... automatic signal processing, probably? Yeah. There we go. Oh, you can see the speed increased. Okay, there we go. Oh! Oh my god. Dude, what the hell? Yeah, so the last thing I was expecting in the middle of the day was a bunch of bloody bits of flesh and body parts to appear in one of the lockers. The way the blood gushed through the wall at first made me think there was something on the other side. I can't explain my thought process now, but that's what I thought. And I went to look, and I ended up getting startled by the bloody parts falling out as I opened the door. It's kind of funny, I mean, looking back, but at the time it was unsettling, and I also just, it was annoying. I mean, now I'd have to clean all this up alongside the other trash. Yeah, so this is something I caught on to after playing the game for a bit. The game rarely actually tries to scare you outright. I mean, the clip I just showed you, it's not exactly all that scary. There isn't any real threat or anything. I still scared myself by imagining something worse than the actual thing. As time goes on, you'll notice this more and more. Something might happen, and you'll start thinking about all the horrible things the game could potentially do, all of the possibilities, so you'll just be freaking yourself out. And not to say that there aren't any real scary moments, there are, but the majority of the time I felt scared because of something that in hindsight wasn't that big of a deal. Dreams are a good example of this. Every so often, while sleeping, you'll suddenly find yourself in an unfamiliar black and white area. Your vision and movement is off, the screen is slightly blurry, and you feel sluggish and uncontrollable as you walk. Now, all the dreams look similar but have different layouts, like the one where you have to jump from pillar to pillar, or this one where you have to dodge large boulders that tumble down the slope towards you. And most of these are like small mini-games that either reward or take away sanity depending on if you complete them, but then I've also encountered some dreams that don't seem to have any goals, and are there just to startle you. Oh my god. Who the fuck? Holy shit. Oh. Dreams and sleeping affect sanity, but then you also have your other stat, hunger, and this one's pretty simple. You just eat food. The tutorial mentions how food can be heated up and preserved to prevent spoiling. Simply keep it in the fridge until you're hungry enough to eat it. It's one of the many small but cool mechanics this game has, and while not being very impactful, it adds to the immersion, having you be more careful with your food instead of just having it lying around in some random corner. Now the big question is, what happens when either of these stats get low, or even reach zero? I mean, in the case of hunger, you start hallucinating when you reach around the 15% mark, seeing hamburgers on surfaces around you, which disappear when you interact with them, with this pretty dramatic sound effect. You also have a chance of randomly ragdolling when hungry, which is actually very annoying, and when you reach 0 hunger, you just start taking damage. This makes sense. Sanity is a lot more interesting, since at first everything seems fine, except for the inability to sprint due to being tired. Soon, though, you start realizing that your camera is moving on its own, not the regular slight swaying. The camera gets pulled to a specific spot, no matter where you look. Move to a different location, and the camera gets pulled to a slightly different spot too. It's almost like you're being forced to look at something specific on the map. Then, you go and try to find what that something is. Fuck. Dude. Yeah, so this is basically what happens to every person who works the night shift. The sky was completely normal during the day, a light blue that shifted to orange in the evening. I didn't question it because I was used to seeing such colors in the real world. I thought the game was mimicking similar sunsets, but as time passed, it became more and more clear that this night wasn't like the rest. The sky, blood red, barely illuminated the forest, but I decided it was a good idea to do a satellite run anyways. I don't know what I was expecting, and you'd think the red sky would imply something bad, but everything was so normal and peaceful. There were no monsters jumping out from between the trees, only the occasional sound of a pine cone hitting the grass and the roar of the ATV as I cruised over the hills from one satellite to the next. One of the satellites I had to visit was Romeo, located far across the river next to one of the transformers. I planned my route in a way that had me going to it from Sierra, so I was going to pass through the valley found in between the 2 points, and as I reached the crest of the hill, I saw something. Whoa, what? Hello? 2 objects, white and shaped like very pointy triangles, floated a few feet above the ground, with a bunch of picnic supplies and an unfolded picnic blanket lying nearby. This wasn't here before. I've made my way through here multiple times, but those objects seem familiar. I've seen them when collecting signals. Chances are you've collected this signal and saw the same spaceship on the monitor, floating in space. I ended up processing the signal and listening to it. Sounds pretty generic as far as level 3 signals go, right? I mean, I thought that at first, but then I looked on the wiki, and now I'm going to show some text while replaying the signal. Is it a stretch? It's up to you to decide, but it is interesting that the signal coming from an alien spaceship sent by aliens could be interpreted and heard as an actual sentence. Truth is, these aliens will contact you again, so I really do think the signal is a greeting. They're here now, and they're here to stay. I saw aliens. It's 2 ships, triangular, floating above the ground. They were having a picnic. I'm sure of what I saw, even in the dim light. I came back the next day and they were gone, but the blanket was still on the ground. There's no way anyone will believe me. Besides the aliens, the end of the week brings with it something pleasant in the form of a bonus, up to 500 extra points. Up to because turning in lower quality signals or messing up the hash codes during the week lowers your performance rating, netting you less, but you still get a respectable amount. And now the question becomes, what should you buy? I've already talked about the upgrades for the computers, but there are still these modules, which are just more upgrades, only not necessarily for the setup. All these are more quality of life. Not exactly necessary, but they do make the game a lot simpler. An example is allowing the ATV to recharge from the sunlight, or an upgrade to stop bad weather from messing with the signal download process. The other place to sink your money into is the store. Besides the essentials, here you can find a lot of various tools, decorations, machinery, and other junk that might be useful. And the only way to be sure is to actually buy it. Now, I'm not going to go through every item on the list, because I don't really have to explain something like the Among Us vase pot, but there are a few particularly interesting items here that I would highly recommend getting. The first one is the item box. Under the Essentials tab, it's an orange rectangular box used for storage. The cool thing about it is the ability to sell off anything you put inside via drone. Just load it up, place it on the pad, and then call for pickup. I did a little bit of experimenting in my run, seeing what sells, and came to the conclusion that the MREs are pretty effective, going for 10 a piece and being pretty common. You get one guaranteed every day for free, but there's also a lot more around the map at different locations, and there's even a barrel full of MREs stuck in a log on the river. Managing to sell all of them gives you a really good jump start, and I'd recommend doing it to avoid having to grind for the important upgrades. In the machines section, there are a few items worth noting, like the wood chipper, which is useful to turn various trash into piles that can then be easily bagged and thrown away. Then there's the Kerfer robot, which comes in a few different colors and does the task of fixing servers for you, meaning you don't have to go outside for that anymore. Then there's the TV, which isn't exactly useful, but it is very entertaining, as it allows you to play any video saved to your PC. 10 out of 10, completely breaks the immersion. 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 Last, but definitely not least, is the hook, a tool costing 50 points, allowing you to connect one or both ends to pretty much any surface, acting as an elastic rope. This way you can use it to scale walls, pull yourself up to the ceiling, or maybe attach the TV to your ATV so you don't miss anything while outside collecting hash codes. It's a really useful tool for getting around, and actually lets you get into the vents above the main room at base, through the hole where the loosely connected vent cover was. That's what? All my papers, bro. And the game saved! Dude. Well, that's just amazing, isn't it? In here, most of the paths are dead ends, blocked by indestructible vent covers, but going in the direction of the server room, you find a small hideaway, with a bunch of trash, a foldable chair, and a note. 2311. Taking a note for whoever's reading this. Saw that one figure standing next to the concrete pole. Could not get a good look. My eyes were blurry from the lack of sleep. Maybe hallucination? Who knows? Keep your eye on this. Update 840. Came out investigating the place. Saw footprints at the exact same place where the figure was last night. Update 1709. I do not feel safe here. I want to leave. This looks like another note written from the perspective of a paranoid previous employee, who might be the same as the one who left the notes at the Transformer. Yeah, so I'm like 99% sure that this person is dead. Okay, I got another idea. Oh shit, there's a barrier! There's a Minecraft barrier that doesn't let me out. I think I die if I fall, so... yeah. Wait, there's actually another thing that the hook is used for. I put off talking about it for a while, but you've seen it, I've seen it. It's what looks like a bunker entrance with a code-locked door and a note that reads, "Do not enter." Of course, having that written on the note only furthers one's curiosity, but the door is locked and there isn't any code nearby. You might try using one of the tools from the shop called the code changer, but it won't work, so there must be some other way to get it open. This is where the hook comes in. Looking on the backside of the building is a small hole, and through it you can see a key card on one of the steps, visible enough to be hooked and then pulled out. This keycard fits for the first door, but then you instantly hit another one, and here you can use that code changer, which works this time around. And now I'm mad, because why doesn't it work on the first door? I just don't get it. The inside of the bunker is a bit of a mess, just like the rest of the base, with furniture, crates, and trash throughout the room. Going deeper doesn't seem possible, since the barricaded door doesn't budge even with all the planks removed, but even without that, there's still something to find here. A thick book, an instruction manual containing a recipe for Kerfur Omega, an upgraded version of the Kerfur mentioned prior. Now this recipe is long, requiring multiple items like the base Kerfur Ba alongside other things you most likely don't have yet, so getting this becomes sort of like a side quest that you'll be able to complete as you keep playing. The aliens from before make their second appearance after spamming your email with a sea of hashes. Looking outside, you can spot one of the ships from the valley floating in the sky, warping away after some time passes. And just how you stumbled upon them, now it seems they managed to stumble upon you, and are now trying to establish contact via the garbled up emails. Again, this is not the last time that we're seeing these guys. I made contact with aliens, or they made contact with me. I'm still not entirely sure what they want, but now we know about each other. They don't seem to be aggressive. I mean, they were having a picnic when I first saw them, so I wouldn't expect them to be hostile. Besides that, the second week wasn't too exciting, just lots of cleanup. I did get a Kerfur robot, so I feel just a little less lonely now. Feel like I can keep going. So there's a new update for the game, 0.8.1. This one isn't as large as 0.8, hence the 0.1, but nonetheless, there's a lot of changes. Like, for example, you now have a proper player model, previously only visible through the camera. This new model has some jank here and there, but I mean, overall, I like it. The inventory got changed some, with you now having a section for all of the things you have equipped, which is cool, and there's also a bunch more shop items. Wait, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Food got more expensive. I didn't notice this at first, but then when I went to buy a pizza like I normally do, I realized it more than doubled in price with the new update. This went for every food item in the shop, including MREs, which now cost 50, but they also sell back for 25 apiece. Now with food being more expensive, I was thinking if there was any other way to get some, preferably something besides just scrounging around for MREs and burgers. I need a sustainable alternative. So I found a fishing rod, or more specifically a case with all the fishing rod parts and some bait. I was led to the correct digging spot by a note, which I found on one of the earlier days when I stumbled upon a fenced-off, locked bunker hatch southwest of the main base. The note was written in German, and when translated read as follows: I have no family or friends, so no one willing to participate in such a life. So whoever that is, I transfer ownership of my valuable equipment to you. You may find it at 175 minus 460. Good luck. Now, this different language used for the note seems to imply that this is yet another character, different from the previous note authors, who still worked here, leaving behind their supplies buried underground with a note for whoever came along next. Using the hook, I was able to tow the case back to base, reassembling the rod, and then heading towards the lake to hopefully fish up, well, fish. Oh! Dude, it's a fish! Actual fish. Oh, it's alive. I gotta, Can I eat you? Anyways, you're going in my pocket now. I'm gonna go make myself a fish dinner. Dude, it's too easy for your man. With food spoilage being a thing, I took the fish back and stored it in a freezer while trying to figure out how to cook it. Looking through the shop, the grill caught my eye, alongside a recipe book and a knife for cutting the fish up into pieces to then cook. And it ended up working way better than I expected, so I definitely recommend trying this out. Something quite interesting happened on day 15. I was in the main room working with signals when the radar started lighting up, red dots all around the base. Most of them disappeared a few moments later, except for 3, which all continued moving around in one general area, directly west of the main base, right around where the construction site was. I waited until early morning before going out to the radio tower, wanting to spot whatever it was from up high, but I couldn't see anything past the trees. Then curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to head over there on the ATV to see whatever it was up close. Who this? Are there people here now? Oh, I am a great soft jelly thanks to the... What? Oh my god, what the hell? Huh? Now I know for a fact that the crates, lantern, and notebook weren't in that room in the previous version, and I didn't run into any invisible monsters either. It was a good scare. The loud banging sound made me think it was some sort of prop with jank physics at first, but then I noticed the door shaking as something attempted to get in. The only thing I could think to do was to hide, but that didn't work out too well, and I ended up dying. My first death caused by something other than my own stupidity. After loading back in, I decided to go over there again, being more cautious this time. All the other rooms looked the same, empty bunk bed frames with junk on the floor, but the room upstairs was different, missing the 2 crates, with the lantern now on the floor next to the journal. Standing around didn't do me any good last time, so I decided to try to sneak out right as whatever was outside broke down the door, managing to run out into the open to keep an eye on the creature. Oh. Whoa. Whoa! Hey, let me go! Going back and picking up the journal, I was now able to read it, and this is what it said. I am a great soft jelly thing, smoothly rounded, with no mouth, with pulsing white holes filled by fog where my eyes used to be, rubbery appendages that were once my arms, bulks rounding down into legless humps of soft, slippery matter. I leave a moist trail when I move. Blotches of diseased, evil gray come and go on my surface, as though light is being beamed from within. Outwardly, dumbly, I shamble about, a thing that could never have been known as human, a thing whose shape is so alien, a travesty that humanity becomes more obscene for the vague resemblance. Inwardly, alone. Here. At the time of reading this, I wasn't aware that this was an excerpt from the short story I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. I read it afterwards and could see a possible connection between it and the game. Dr. Kell, who you play as, and Ted, the main character of the story, both end up isolated and trapped, unable to reach out to anyone. That, or I'm just reading too much into this, trying to find a meaning that isn't there. You know, average essay video. Some time ago while playing, I remember thinking how cool it would be to be able to find signal drives around the map, so that you could then decode them and maybe learn a little bit more about what happened here. Well, lucky for us, that's exactly what I found at the hole next to the construction site. A level 1 signal named STO8122. So as I'm editing this, I realized that you can see the drive at the hole when I visited it for the first time at the beginning of the video. So let's just ignore that. Taking it back to base and listening to it at first, you get static like other low-level signals, forcing you to refine it in order to hear something unique. I don't know if it's just me, but listening to most signals, especially when refined, gives me goosebumps. A lot of them sound unsettling, reminding me of hydrophone sounds, mysterious recordings captured in the deep water. Now that I think about it, it's pretty easy to compare outer space and our own oceans, both places being hard to explore and full of the unknown. Waking up in the middle of the night is never a good sign. And then checking that you can't bring up the pause menu due to meta paranoia confirms that something isn't right. You think you're safe in your own base, but in truth, you can't really be sure about anything in this game. All you can really do is carefully check each room until eventually you find the disturbance. No. No. I don't like this. What was that? I heard something. I don't want to go out of the room, man. Where's Emma? Shovel, shovel, the shovel. This is 100% the work of those aliens, who now seem way more comfortable being around here. They even decided to set up shop more permanently in the forest. The first sign of them appearing again came in the form of a large pillar of smoke rising south of the main base, much larger than the smoke from the transformer buildings. It's visible across the entire map. The cause of the smoke is a campfire located right next to the parked ships and what looks to be the base of a treehouse, alongside a few strange items. Messing with some of these items can cause the aliens to show up, using some sort of cloaking technology, and this confirms that the thing at the construction site was also one of these aliens. It was early in the morning. The sun was just starting to rise over the horizon. I was northwest of the base, somewhere near Romeo when I spotted it. Now, I've seen some shit, but this was something else. Not a deer or any other creature in the forest, more like a monster or robot with long, slender legs, moving around on all fours, its eyes lighting up the surroundings. I don't know how it didn't spot me, but I'm not complaining. I got my hash from Romeo and then I got out of there. It's probably the red dot I keep seeing on the radar near the top left. I'll have to get some cameras and set them up to keep an eye on things. The idea to set up cameras throughout the forest wasn't new, but good quality ones weren't cheap, so I had to put off the thought until I had the funding. I wanted to keep tabs on two things in particular. The thing near Romeo, which appeared at the top left edge of the radar every night, and also the alien treehouse. The treehouse camera ended up being pointless, since the aliens would just take it down and leave it at my doorstep each time. But the other cam, well, that was a lot more interesting. You see, while setting up the Romeo camera, I did some exploring in the valley it monitored, and found a cave entrance right near the border fences. Nearby were a few hazard signs, and one of them caught my attention. It was a large sign, toppled over, reading something about uranium mining operations, labeling the zone as dangerous due to the radioactive materials. That made me remember the Kerfer crafting recipe, which called for a radioactive capsule, which most definitely needs uranium. I went to check the inside of the cave, only to find it blocked off. Turns out it's inaccessible during the day. You'd have to come back here at night when that thing is out and about, patrolling the area. Things are definitely getting interesting. I swear the cow carcasses are disappearing. I noticed this while cleaning up the basement a few days ago, getting rid of all the junk from the large crates. I happened to glance through the dirty window in the locked door and saw only one carcass hanging on the right side of the room. And I'm 99% sure there were more of them before. I remember looking in that room when I just arrived here, getting creeped out by them. And then some were just gone without a trace. Honestly, if I can stroll up to the alien base anytime and snoop around, then it only makes sense that they can do the same. And that's exactly what happened one night. I was deep in the process of working through some newly discovered signals when the breaker got flipped, and that never fails to startle me. Really? Wait, is it down here? Why? What is that? Going downstairs, the basement was lit up with a pale blue light, illuminated by some small glowing tube left right next to the flipped breaker. At this point, I had my my what? My suspicions set on the neighbors, and going back upstairs to find even more lights stashed all through my base, I became entirely sure it was them. Now, as much as I would like to use these lights for decoration around the base, they have this property of being picked up by the radar, showing up as red pips around the base. This freaked me out when I was trying to find them, because I didn't know they were the things showing up on the radar. Instead, I assumed that it was either the aliens or some other creature that managed to get into my base while I was distracted. Oh, also the lights are really fragile, so even if I did end up using them as decorations, I couldn't, because I broke them all. Fine. I don't need them. I don't need them. Now, since the aliens visited my base, I went back to their camp, coming across the now completed treehouse where I found a pair of, high-tech pressure washers. There's also a poster. This poster interested me quite a bit, and the knife sticking out of it and the colors and everything had me think it was some sort of propaganda poster from their home planet. This isn't someone they're a fan of. And that lines up with the graffito they drew on the base wall, as well as the additional rolled-up poster found inside the treehouse, showing us how the aliens actually look underneath the cloaks. It's good to see that you haven't been forgotten here, as during the second and third week you receive a few care packages from Dr. Inara, a good friend of Dr. Kells from university. Now, these packages contain some food items like sushi or homemade croissants, a good alternative to the pizza or fish or whatever else you've been living off prior. Beyond that, these packages with the notes serve as a reminder of life beyond the forest, and you, isolated from it, all alone, unable to contact the outside world. This brings up a question you might have been asking already. Why are we so isolated here? Since arrival, we haven't spoken to a single other person face to face. All communication is one-sided through emails, which are kept relatively brief, and the only other way we're interacted with is the drone. You were told nothing about this place, but it's obvious the higher-ups knew something was going on here, considering all the disturbing notes, bones, and everything else. I don't doubt that if you tried sending a written note to try to communicate, they'd just ignore it and pretend nothing happened to keep you working here. And I doubt they'd tell Inara anything either, so she wouldn't worry about you. I guess you at least have the aliens to keep you company. If you maintain a good reputation with them, of course. Alien reputation is in fact a mechanic, and it's impacted by your actions around them. For example, if you try setting up a camera at their base, or if you try stealing some of their items, they won't like that. But if you bring them food, your reputation with them will go up. And there's also various events that impact the reputation, and you can see these reputation changes by ticking one of the experimental settings options. Now here's a moment for you. Alien seemingly tripped and dropped a rear gun. Now you get a choice, either give the gun back to the Arrearals, that's what the alien race is called by the way, or you can keep the gun. Of course, I decided to give the gun back, partly because I didn't want to re-experience the crate incident, and also because I had no idea what this thing did. And knowing the game, it could randomly explode, wiping my entire base, and I already had some issues with explosives in the past that I'd rather not. I'd rather avoid that. This reputation isn't just for show. Remember the alien catapult, or the graffiti, or the blue lights just now? As it turns out, there's a bunch of events, or pranks, that get triggered based on your reputation with the Arrearals. The worse the reputation, the more detrimental the pranks the aliens pull. Stuff like exploding ATVs and drives, poisoned food, and other nuisances that I luckily haven't had to deal with. A good relationship, on the other hand, leads to beneficial interactions. The Arrearals end up helping you in various ways, repaying you for your friendliness. What? A weird object looks like an egg, heavy, squishy, tight, like a big grape, shining the light through, reveals there's nothing inside but soft substance. I'm gonna eat it. Oh, I'm eating it. Oh, that's so tasty. And it's healing me too, and I feel so good. Thank you very much. I gotta warn you that a good reputation doesn't mean the pranks won't continue. A few days after returning the gun, I got hit with 2 in the span of a day. First, they let loose a makeshift cart with an alien statue stuck to it, which was actually quite convenient. I lost my previous alien friend to a freak accident involving a rogue bucket. Oh! What? Later that same day, I had to go out and do the usual hashcode track, this time needing to go to Uniform, which was near the treehouse. And, yeah. What? Oh. Wooden alien cutout. Okay, I see how it is. Alright. Now, it's not all pranks and tricks. The Arirals do attempt to communicate with you regardless of reputation, as at some point you can find a trail of mysterious brownies leading away from the base, across the river to a note they wrote. The content varies from threats to letters of peace, showing that the Arirals understand the English language even if barely. So, communication with them isn't out of the question, though it would still be hard with them being invisible and all. In any case, depending on the letter, you can use that as a sign to either improve your reputation or continue maintaining it, unless, of course, you want to be vilified by the aliens capable of knocking you out with a single thrown object. I mean, it's your choice. Also, the brownies sell for $0.01 each, and there's like over 100 of them, so I'd say sell them off alongside your MRE stash. Man, I love this. Having the 2 batteries is actually such a good idea. What the fuck? Oh my god! 1 second you're chilling at your base, and the next moment your entire world gets flipped upside down, literally. And you hear loud sirens blaring and red emergency lights start flooding rooms. Checking the radar, you see 1 red pip out in front of the base, a rectangular golden pillar or an obelisk, the cause of the commotion, which is now lodged in the ground amidst the trees. Inspecting it up close, it doesn't have any buttons or other ways to interact with it, but after a short while it lights up on its own, displaying a hologram, a 2x4 grid of pictures. Now, this hologram depicts 2 scenarios involving a human and what appears to be a miniature sun, a warning showing us what would happen if the person attempts to engage it, recommending avoiding it until it disappears. At the time, I didn't quite understand what this was supposed to mean, or why this beacon thing landed here in the first place. It didn't look sleek and futuristic like Ariral tech, instead more closely resembling a weird contraption I found sometime earlier in the northeastern corner of the map. And this implies that there's another alien race keeping tabs on us, and it's seemingly trying to warn us? Warn us about what? Well, it doesn't take long for the beacon hologram to start making sense. It's only 1 at first, but as the night goes on, more of these yellow wisps start appearing in the forest, wandering around. At this point, I locked up the base, closing both the garage and the front doors, as all I could really think to do was wait this over. Then the sun started going up, and all the wisps were still there. In fact, there were even more of them now than before, and they were just all over the place. Still, I need to go outside to collect hash codes for the day, and I also thought that this would be a good opportunity to see how fast the wisps were. I mean, surely the ATV is faster, right? Oh, it looks like it does. No, maybe not. Oh. You're stuck on a tree. This might... Oh my god. Help! That's my... Just dismembers you? Bruh. Well... Hey, I mean, at least now we know the hologram wasn't lying. What? What? So the Arirals went ahead and turned off the sun for a little bit. And that got me slightly freaked out. But then they said sorry afterwards, so it's no biggie. So... S-O-R-R-Y. Oh, is that the fucking the aliens? Did they do that? Did they cause that? Did you cause, like, the sun to go out or something? What? It's been like 4 weeks in game now, and each day I send Kerfer out to fix the broken satellite servers, only to end up having to go out myself as well, getting Kerfer unstuck, or just towing it back after it runs out of power overnight. At the time, I didn't realize I could manually control the thing with the press of a green button, so I started looking into upgrading it using the book I found in the Alpha Bunker. And since updating the game, the book stopped showing the recipe when I hover over it, so I went back to the footage to see what the recipe was. Various scraps, Kerfer parts, color, and a radioactive capsule, one of the things from the tutorial. The scrap aren't an issue, since there's more than enough of them in the large crates all over the base, and after breaking them down while cleaning, I was able to collect all the scrap pretty easily. The Kerfer parts and color might be confusing, but it turns out you can disassemble the base Kerfer at the workbench, yielding you 3 parts, a color brick, and a wheel. 5 parts means you'll need 2 Kerfers in total, both disassembled and then reused in the final version. Finally, the capsule, which has a recipe found near the bunker hatch alongside the note written in German. The problem here is that both the gas welder and compressed radioactive material are not easy to come by, and after taking one look in that cave, let's just say that there's another way of getting a radioactive capsule. I was eyeing the metal detector for some time now. I had the shovel on me since the first week, and now I finally decided to buy it, hoping to use it to find something interesting. The first location I wanted to check out was this mound near the first transformer, since I noticed an interesting sign, looking identical to the one near the cave. After snooping around a bit, however, all I dug up was half a dozen pieces of trash, scrap metal, and other useless junk, so I had to go looking elsewhere. Luckily, it didn't take long to find the capsule after that, as I had to go down to the transformer around X-ray where I came across a patch of dirt with human bones and the capsule sticking out slightly. Now, I didn't realize at the time, but being near the capsule actually hurt, with it emitting radiation and whatnot, so you'd need to buy one of those radiation suits from the shop if you want to handle it safely. Alternatively, you could just dig it up quickly and then stuff it in your pocket where it doesn't hurt you anymore. That makes sense to me. Having all the necessary components collected, I set them on the workbench alongside the book and crafted the robot. Or, at least I thought that's what I was doing. Instead, the result of the craft was the Kerfero pelvis, using up the capsule alongside some scrap and 1 Kerfer part. I was quite confused. Turns out, one of the changes in version 0.8.1 was a change to make Kerfero harder to obtain. The manual doesn't work anymore because it's outdated, and now there's supposed to be a new recipe book down in the bunker. I tried looking for it, going back down there, searching around, but... What happened? What? I fucking threw my headphones off. That wasn't supposed to happen. Like I was saying, I tried looking around, but the recipe was added very recently, and this is an old save, so I needed to find it in a new world. Getting into the Alpha Bunker on day 1 isn't actually that hard. I mean, you only need 2 things, a melee tool and a hook. The tool I used was the shovel from the now much more detailed and run-down cabin in the woods. From here, head to the first transformer, which is next to the not yet created a real treehouse, and then drive out to the trees beyond the clearing. Here you'll find a boarded up well. Break the planks and jump down to get the hook, and then use it to get back out and go to the alpha base to yank the keycard. Then for the second door, instead of changing the code, you can just hit it with the shovel to pry it open. Although, it won't stay open forever, so you should jam something in the doorway as soon as possible. Inside the bunker, the old bulky Kerf Row book is still in the corner, but the new recipe book, a journal, is found sitting on a nearby table. Reading it, we learn that whoever wrote this seemingly made the Kerf Row at some point, and then ended up disassembling it and hiding the various crafting ingredients all over the place. The original recipe was turned into a single part, the pelvis, but all the other parts now have their own recipes as well, needing a few unique materials like the AI chip and quartz. It's a lot more expensive and will take a lot more time and resources to get everything assembled, but the notes also help with locating the important things. You know, I think it's about time to start thinking about working on this thing. Sleep a little more? Again, bro, you can't do this every single 2 seconds. I need... What? Where's this? What? There's... Oh my god. There's... It's me! Dude. What the fuck is going on? Now, why would me start raining from the sky? Obviously, it's because this game just wants me to spend more time cleaning up instead of going around and doing important things. There's so much meat everywhere now, but luckily normal rain washes away the blood splatters, and the meat rain was concentrated above the base, so it's not the entire map that got affected. Still, this is like an extra 100 garbage bags that need to be stored and thrown away eventually, so, you know, more busy work for me. Speaking of work, a little before the meat rain, I was actually doing some signal gathering, and I found a series of very interesting signals that caught me off guard. I wasn't paying too much attention to the downloading screen at the beginning of this, so when I came to take a look, I did not expect to see a top-down view of the base. The footage was grainy, but you're able to discern the radio tower in front, and the POV was coming from somewhere above that, so I went outside to see if I could find it. Oh my god! Holy shit! At first, I thought that the rerolls were behind these signals, just like how some time ago they sent a signal containing a picture of the main base room. As time went on, though, that assumption was starting to fade away, since the subsequent signals started closing in on the main room, from the outside, and then from the inside, upside down, above the door exiting into the hallway. With this third signal, I tried to figure out if I could grab the camera or whatever it was that was recording this, but I couldn't find anything after some snooping around, so I just decided to move on to the next one. Why is something always happening, man? What do you mean? Do not look into the locker. What am I supposed to do? What? They told me not to look in the locker, and I do it anyways. And then my game crashes. What does this say about me as a person? I don't know. I like the event, though. Ever since the beacon dropped, yellow wisps have been appearing all over the forest each night, sticking around as the sun came out, making it harder for me to do my job. Still, I was managing to get by. I was getting my signals and hash codes done, securing around 200 points a day, now saving up for the scuba mask to go exploring the lake to find the safe mentioned in the notebook. Now the mask costs a considerably large 1,000 points, and then it also needs an oxygen tank on top of that, which is an additional 150. Luckily I had my Bitcoin mining rig from the very first week, which, even with only one GPU, was useful for getting some bonus points every so often. After a few days of saving up, not buying upgrades, tools, or food, I had enough for the mask and tank, and looking at it, it doesn't really look like it should be worth the equivalent of 2 robots. Anyways, I went to find the safe, looking around underwater, but all I found was a pickaxe and, well, I don't think I want to know what this is. Point is, the safe didn't exist in this world, just like the notebook, so we'd have to find it on the second save, just like the notebook. For that, I'd need to use a secret tool, but before that could be done, I got visited by aliens again. The first sign of the aliens was a signal, again. It was a pyramid-shaped chip of some sort, yellowish gold, kind of reminding me of the beacon outside with the similar colors and strange architecture. It sounded unsettling, but I didn't really think too much about it since I've gotten used to getting strange signals at this point, and nothing happened when I downloaded it. A few days later, I bought the scuba mask and was just beginning to test it. That's when I heard a strange sound. What? Whoa. What is this? I hear just stomping. Oh my god. What is that? What is that? What is that? Oh my god. Oh my god, what is it? That's the thing! That's the thing from that's the pyramid. What is it doing? Holy shit. That's so loud. That's a wisp! It's killing it! Oh my god. Oh my god. I want to get up on the thing. Yeah, it's literally killing wisps. This thing's taller than the... Oh my god. Is it just leaving? So it just went around, fucked up all the wisps, and is just like leaving. That's sick. There's no more wisps anywhere, it doesn't look like. Oh. Just despawned. The beacon from before and now the pyramid going around getting rid of the wisps pretty much confirms this second alien faction that seemingly also wants to help us. And why else would we get sent an advance warning to keep us safe until the pyramid arrived to clear everything up? It's even better because in the nights after the pyramid visit, no new yellow wisps appear, so that's one less thing to worry about, and doing work will be a lot easier again. Okay, back to the main task at hand. We need to get the AI module, but the safe doesn't exist in this world, and I said that's not a problem because we have something to help us with that. Since day one, I was curious about this yellow mailbox right outside the front door. Looking inside, there's never any mail in there, and all communication was already done through the email and drone, so what was this thing's purpose? Well, as it turns out, this mailbox can be used to interact with parallel worlds. Well, parallel worlds where the safe does exist. Simply put, anything that fits in here, so basically anything, can be shared across game saves. I could go back to the world that has the newer Kerfer guide and put it in here and then take it out in the main world. This would allow me to get duplicates of items as well, funneling them in from newly created saves, although I won't be doing that because it's not necessary. What is necessary is putting the mask in the mailbox and then swimming down to the safe in the other world. Unlocking it is a bit tricky. You'll start by scrolling down until you hear a click, and then alternate scrolling up and down, switching with each subsequent click. At one point you'll hear a click right as you start scrolling, but that isn't the right one, so you'll just have to keep scrolling in the same direction until you hear another one. Do it all correctly and the safe will pop right open. Next on the shopping list is the two types of joints. Ball joints near Romeo, and the other joints... Well, the note doesn't tell me exactly where they are, but we know they're somewhere in the forest. In any case, I won't find either of them in the main world for the same reason why the safe wasn't at the lake, so the mailbox comes in handy again, allowing me to transpose the shovel and metal detector so that I could dig around the Romeo landslide. In total, there are 12 ball joints here, 2 per box in 6 locations, which is actually enough since you only need 8 ball joints for the whole recipe. The arms and legs end up getting crafted in pairs. The elbow joints aren't hard to find if you start your playthrough on the proper version. You need 4 in total, and they come in 2 pairs of 2, found at the first transformer in a bucket, and at the transformer near the construction site under the workbench. They are called knee joints, but that's just a naming mix-up, and these work in place of the elbow joints in the recipe. The last thing left is the quartz, which does in fact come from the cave, so I guess it's finally time to go down there. Setting out at night, taking care to avoid the thing, the passage forward appears unblocked, and after passing by a strange pile of plants and some straw, you reach the loading zone. I went into the cave near Romeo. After days of monitoring the area through the camera feed, I was curious, and also, where else would I be able to find quartz? I was surprised to find spotlights set up in the first large cave room, but past that, there wasn't a single sign of any human activity. They either all abandoned this place or got stuck somewhere deeper down, and I really hope that's not the case. As for myself, I stuck to the left wall as I went further, that way I could find my way back easier. Luckily, I didn't have to go very far to find some quartz jutting out of the ground, and after collecting a few samples using the pickaxe I found in the lake, I got out of there. Now all the hard parts are collected, and after buying a good camera for the torso and gathering all the necessary scrap, the Kerfer Omega is ready to be assembled. Now I should note that the big Kerfer book from the basement still needs to be on the workbench alongside all the ingredients to make each part, and in reverse if you want to disassemble a part. Making each part individually and then combining them together gets you one Kerfer Omega, a vast upgrade over the basic Kerfer robot, costing a total minimum of 2,270 points. I'd say it's well worth it. First of all, it doesn't need to be charged, so it can operate indefinitely, most likely due to the capsule of uranium, which works to provide more energy than the robot can ever consume. Its functionality is also increased dramatically, since now it can not only fix servers, but also collect the daily hash codes and fix transformers, basically taking over all of the tasks that require you to go outside. It's great stuff. I mean, now you can spend all your time indoors playing a video game where you spend all your time indoors. Truly revolutionary gameplay. Alright, so it's been what? 5 weeks now? Over a month has passed and a lot has happened. A lot of progress has been made, cleaning up the base, getting the setup enhanced, getting properly comfortable here. Collecting signals was now easier than ever. The process was much faster, just like how it felt in the tutorial, and I was able to churn out signals a lot more efficiently, so I had a use for the drive racks, accumulating a sort of collection. I was still finding new and disturbing signals every so often, with one in particular really creeping me out. Even now that ambience gets to me. There's also the aliens. First it was the Arirals who showed up early on and got settled during the 3rd week, and now the guys behind the beacon and the pyramid, the Rositals, have become the main attraction. First I came across what seemed like a scouting party, a group of tripods that arrived right when the power got knocked out and when I was outside. So something's actually going on. That's not good to... I don't like that, by the way. Can I just say... I'm gonna be the first to say that. I don't like that, the fact that... Because normally you... That's not a thing. This is an event. This is an event. This is most definitely an event. Oh my god, it's most definitely an event. Okay, I'm done. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. What the hell are those things, man? What the hell are those things? They blew me up. Sometime after that, I stumbled upon something weird. Some sort of creature or robot in the garage that fled upon being spotted.
What the fuck?
Then, a few days after that, a ship. Their ship. Yellow coloring, purple lights, strange architecture. It was a sight to behold. It's just going. Holy shit, okay. Also around this time there was a loud crash somewhere in the forest, caused by this. A piece of some sort of spaceship that broke off and landed behind the construction site. I found it thanks to a persistent red pip, which turned out to be this interesting contraption. It's straight up a gravity gun. Yeah, this would have been nice to have like 30 days ago, but oh well. If you've somehow been putting off cleanup, now you really don't have an excuse. I mean, actually, I was going crazy trying to move around some of the larger furniture, and now that's one more problem off the list. I mean, seriously, how am I supposed to spend all of my time now? It was becoming clear that my problems now were not what they once were. I wasn't so much worried about the sounds coming from between the trees, or the darkness, or the steadily disappearing cow corpses in the basement. No, that's still something that needs looking into. Having gotten Kerfer Omega and now the gravity gun, I didn't need to spend nearly as much time on various laborious tasks, except maybe fishing. But still, now I had a lot of free time on my hands, and not much of a plan. I started thinking. I could go all out on the base decoration, make the place as comfortable as possible, wall posters all over, rugs, furniture, flat screen TVs, make it feel like home. I started doing that, and then instantly got bored because I'm not into that type of shit. No, I need something strange. Maybe even a little scary. I wanted to recapture that feeling I had at the beginning, so I had to find something new, and lucky for me, this place has many, many more mysteries to uncover. First mystery, the microwave, and why does my popcorn explode when I keep it in for too long? Okay, I'm joking, but I'm not. Because the microwave is useful for more than just heating food up. Well, I guess useful isn't the best word to describe it, but these interactions are interesting. Like, for example, what if you put a battery in there? Well, it'll explode. So, what about a tinfoil hat? Nothing? Okay. What about a skull? The deer skull. Your curiosity gets rewarded. Punished. And now you have to deal with something not all too familiar. For the first couple minutes, nothing happens, all is quiet, and you might start to think that this is all just a bit. But no, it can't be. And it isn't. The radar starts lighting up with new red dots all around the base, and you might even catch glimpses of it outside, watching you. Okay, so basically, what you've just done is summoned a demon, and now it's haunting you, so good luck getting any sleep anytime soon. Good news is it isn't aggressive and disappears soon after you look at it, leaving a few bones in its place, but it can do a damn good job of startling you and catching you off guard. It's called Furfur, and is apparently known in the world of demonology as this weird winged deer man thing. From the description I found on Wikipedia, it seems pretty chill. It's capable of bringing people together, I guess? Anyways, now the question is, how do we get rid of it? Well, it's actually pretty easy. Or you can just wait around about an hour or so, because I played for a while without going to the menu, and roughly a day later, I stopped noticing the crosses or the man himself. I guess he got bored. What's funny is while the Furfur event was going on, something else happened as I started seeing these pillars of light that looked like they were coming from somewhere around the construction site. Guess what I did? I went over there to investigate. Purple glow. Oh my god. Never mind. I guess we don't go there? So, I'm no longer friends with the purple mech robot Rosittle guys. They decided to explore my place a bit and took over the construction site to do something with the hole, and I managed to get stuck on the second floor of one of the buildings nearby, looking at all this through dirty windows. I ended up waiting in there until dawn, until I had a clear shot of making it back to the ATV, but when I went for it I realized the Kerfer I sent out earlier to do my chores was back. It was blocking the door. Breaking this door down for what, the third time now, I managed to sneak over to the ATV and got the hell out of there. Yeah, so this is the definition of stormtrooper aim, and this is the definition of bad driving. After getting back to base, I realized the robots didn't go after Kerfer, who was standing right outside the door the entire night, so I thought, what if I try seeing what they're up to through Kerfer's camera? I could use the manual controls to navigate it to the site, so that's what I did, and sure enough, the robots did not become aggressive. I decided to check out what was going on at the hole. Chicken robots? The grate was gone, and this contraption was beaming a laser way down in there, and at this point I have no idea what, or who, or why. I just kept looking. I did turn away for a moment to check the radar, and then when I came back they were all gone. Well, we all know we all wanted to drop down there, right? At least we can do that now. I made my way over to the hole as quickly as possible, taking the hook with, just in case. Kerfer was standing at the edge of the hole where I left him, and after saving in case I need to reload due to a soft block, I jumped in. Water. So I need a diving mask. It was one mystery after another. The alien robots at the hole, and now Kerfer disappearing off the map. Looking through the camera, a room with red pulsating walls? That's no good. So I shouldn't have done this. That's my mistake. But in my defense, I got Kerfer Omega recently, and I was afraid of losing it, and after coming up from the hole and just seeing a red pool of blood on the ground where Kerfer was standing, I was pretty scared of losing the robot. I spent a lot of time getting it, so if you're playing the game and if this happens to you and you're playing the game, take my word for it. It's actually a really cool event. I'm just sad I didn't get to experience it. This time I brought Kerfer back to base and then went out, remembering to grab the mask. The hole was weird. The first bit is simple, just a straight drop until you reach the water. At that point the walls change, looking like that thing in the forest. Even stranger is that the water stops after a bit, almost like I'm passing through the center of the earth or something, and now I'm falling upwards. Only that's not the case. The hole just keeps going down and down and down and... Okay, well, now I'm back at the entry gate. Like I said, really weird stuff. Fun fact, there are 25 locations on the map that use the phonetic alphabet. The alpha base is A, and the 24 satellites span B to Y. What about Z, you ask? Things have been kinda out of control lately, and I haven't had time to write any entries, but now things seem to have calmed down. It's crazy to think that I'm not freaking out over all of this that much. The old me would be losing his shit. Passing out, maybe. Being this isolated really does a number on a person, I guess. Having Kerfer also helps, even if it is just a robot, for doing mundane tasks. I wonder how everyone else back home is doing. I'm starting to think there's a third group of aliens harassing me now. The Arirals and Rosidals are the two previous groups to have made contact in some way, but now every night I'm getting UFOs flying over the base, dropping corpses and burning cars in my front lawn. If that wasn't enough, my transformers started breaking more frequently. The first time this happened, my ATV also appeared broken, so I went on foot, and after fixing the transformer, this individual appeared at the bottom of the hill. I don't know how I didn't notice him in the moment, but that's neither the Arirals nor the Rosidals. Then, one day later, the first transformer goes out. This is right after I fix it, too. Here I run into another abomination, although I don't get a good look at it since I'm busy hiding. You know, I've learned my lesson at this point. I eventually sneak away, and after a bit of time, the radar starts picking up red pings moving around the forest. I go out to investigate, more carefully this time around, being more aware of my surroundings, ready to book it if anything dangerous appears. After a bit of searching, I run into that thing again, and it chases me back to base where I climb the radio tower ladder and seemingly break its AI. Getting a better look, I first thought that these are the carcasses from the basement, but these are pigs, and that is most definitely something larger like a cow. Still, these things are pretty damn creepy, and their yellow lights make me certain that they are made by the aliens who use those yellow UFOs. I ended up trying to kill the thing with a crowbar and a knife, and it ended up exploding, splattering more blood and meat chunks all over the place. I mean, at this point I gave up on cleaning the front of the base anyway, so it's whatever. Fast forward a few more days and the pigs are back, but now they're harassing the Arirals. It started with gunshots coming from the treehouse and the radar which lit up in that region. It's early morning, 4 a.m., and the sun is still not out, but I go over to investigate, and upon arrival, I see this. When they say something about pigs being able to fly, I mean, falling out of the sky isn't quite it, but it feels close. Eventually, instead of pigs, we get these robot tank things, but they also get absolutely blasted away, and soon the scuffle ends. Holy shit! My frames! Dude, what the fuck? They're like these huge ass tanks? They're like shooting the shit out of them too. I guess a good thing I returned one of the pistols to them, because now they can actually really... Dude, they're running. They're going for it. They're missing so bad. Oh wait, no, they're not. Dude, holy shit. It's a fiesta. Where are the things spawning out of though? It's like... There's 3 of them. At the end, the Arirals go off to chase down the pigs that wandered away from the fight into the forest. Very cool stuff. Now, I don't know if putting a skull in a microwave is considered a ritual, but if you want to do one, you can. I mean, did you know there's a Stonehenge in the forest? On the map it's right around these parts, in the middle of a dense clump of trees, so it's easy to miss. I found it way back right after coming across the bunker hatch, which had that German note that told me about the fishing rod parts. I explored past that area a bit, into the dense trees, and saw the fence and stones in the distance, so I investigated some more. The fenced-off area was completely void of trees, a small meadow with the stones arranged in a circle in the middle. There were a few crates nearby as well, but the really interesting stuff was at the very center, a piece of paper surrounded by bones. I mean, this has to be something interesting, right? They couldn't have just left a note like this without giving this place some sort of secret for us to work on. So I ran this thing through a translator, Latin methinks, and I got this. Devil's Plains, returns to whence he came, do not return and forget this place. You are not welcome here. Devil's Plains. What are the Devil's Plains? I mean, this could be it. Sort of flat, no trees, and the stones and bones could very well be something to do with the devil. The rest of the letter seems to be addressing us. Not just us, like Dr. Kell, but all of the people who worked here before. Of course, we don't really have the ability to leave and forget, remember the barrier, so instead we might as well snoop around some more. On the wiki, that is, because no way would I be able to figure out that you need to find 7 human skulls and then bring them all over here to begin the ritual. Lucky for us, the wiki people did the hard work of finding all the thingies and listing their locations, so I was able to collect everything in one day, although I did have to go to the alternate world for a few of the skulls that I was missing on main. Most were out in the open, except for 2 that were a bit tricky. One of them was buried near a lamppost at these coordinates, and it was hard to dig up because of the bushes, and the other was buried under that strange ship part from the aliens. The thing is supposed to disappear after a specific event, but that never happened to me, so I just dug at a specific angle and was able to reach through the part to grab the skull. After getting all the skulls collected, I went back and placed them around the middle. When we get a reaction, the skulls start shaking and moving around before getting lifted in the air, spinning in a circle, and then... Damn. What do I do? Do I get, like, do I get... Oh! Oh, it was pulling me in. Oh no, it's pulling me in! You find yourself in an enclosed room, filled with boulders and orange ferns. The walls arc into the ceiling where the black portal hangs above. Exploring around, there aren't any exits, and trying to hook up to the portal to get out doesn't seem to work either. I was confused at first, since I found a hook lying behind some boulders near a wall, so I thought there must be a way back out, but when I went to pick it up, the game crashed. I guess we had to run that back, now with the knowledge that the portal sucks you in. And it ends up being kinda anticlimactic. The skulls are gone, but now there's this dark gray rock. Work in progress. There's definitely gotta be more to this in the future, but for now, there's still another fetch quest to do. The sudden sound of blaring sirens fills the air. Unlike the base alarm, which had a source, these sirens seem to sound across the entire forest, and going outside, you quickly realize what the problem is. The sun, a cognito hazard, is now being blocked out from your vision by a persistent black square. Standing in the light hurts. Chunks of flesh peel away from your body and drop to the ground, and the sun attracts your gaze, making it harder to look away. It's obvious that staying out of the light is best, and for the first half of the day, the main room is safe, since the sun rises from behind the base. Looking through the window, you can see the grass and trees as they dry up and wither away in the light, which seems artificial now. Notice the slight flickering. Eventually, everything turns shades of yellow and brown, and the bushes melt completely, leaving the ground more barren than ever. And at least now I can see all the meat piles I missed when cleaning up outside. And I was wondering, what would happen if you did die to the sun? I mean, I kinda end up testing this with every dangerous event at this point, even when I don't intend to do it, but this time I wasn't losing anything, so I went for it. This is interesting because this is the first time I've gotten a unique death screen, or any death screen at all. Normally it's just roll over, black screen, back to menu, but here we get a bit of something. A text console with someone writing into it. Again, I have to think this has something to do with the aliens, either the Arirals or the Rosidals. Talking about the solar system as a location and writing things like annihilate the sun and retrieve all units must mean that the ones behind this are technologically advanced enough to get around in space. It's a short message, and it doesn't really explain why the sun is like this. Are we in a simulation or something? Maybe one day the game will answer that question. Surviving the bad sun event means waiting around without being able to sleep, instead working indoors, gathering more signals if you need that stuff. Kerfer seems fine going outside, and it turns out you can monitor the sun with the cameras just fine, since this way you aren't directly in the light. Still, it can get a bit boring being locked up all day, so here's some more info on the event while we wait. Unlike other non-story mode related events, this one isn't random, instead occurring during the first sunrise of the 24th of each month in the real world, meaning you could force it by setting the computer time to the appropriate date. Oppositely, if you didn't want the event because of the whole forest burning thing, then don't worry. Simply leaving and re-entering the game seems to put everything back to normal. I mean, I like green forests more myself. Anyways, the sun goes down around 6, the event ends, and you unlock a new game mode where the sun is constantly like this. Sounds quite fun if you ask me. Now, back to the fetch quest, there's this green cabinet, SCP-432, in the bottom right corner of the map. It's another location you probably won't come across normally, seeing as it's way out of the way, right near the fence, but if you do, you'll find this cabinet and a small gray tile on the ground nearby. This tile, you might have found a few before, most likely the one at the hole, or maybe the one right at base, tucked away outside near the front door. Looking more closely at this cabinet, it has a square indent, and connecting the dots, these tiles fit nicely. Looks like a 3x3, meaning there's 9 tiles to find in total. Thanks to the wiki, these are also quite easy to find. Most are at some sort of notable location, so they don't need to be coordinate tracked, but for the 2 or 3 that are more or less out in the field, the digital map or position command works perfectly. The tile that interested me the most was the one back at the gate, because it's on the roof, so you can actually get out there, and then get over to the other side to get inside the booth. It felt cool being in here after seeing the inside from day one, but at the same time, knowing about the barrier made it less special. After all, the area outside the fence perimeter was meant to be explored like the rest of the map. Also, the drive here is edible for some reason. Slotting in all the tiles and interacting with the cabinet again, its doors slide open, revealing a space on the other side, one that is most definitely larger than the volume of the cabinet. Getting inside is impossible for neither you nor any items, limiting this chamber to nothing more than an Easter egg, a nod to SCP-432, which is basically this thing one-to-one. Of course, it not having a use right now doesn't mean it won't get more functionality in the future, just like with the Hell Ritual, so keep your eyes and ears peeled in case any changes for these 2 locations get made. Now, I'm saying this, but in reality, most of the game will probably be changed and added to as time goes on. Even now, the newest update overhauls a lot of things like the models for the workstation and various props like the drive boxes and drives. A lot of stuff already in the game is still work in progress, and obviously even the story mode is unfinished, since on day 48 you get this achievement, signaling the completion of the pre-alpha. Even if the game ends up changing drastically, I still wanted to make a video like this to show off a bunch of the game's current features, and to get more people to learn about it. I haven't come across many other games like this, and it was a unique enough experience that I wanted to document it for myself and for others. Of course, I didn't experience everything, actually far from it. This game has way more content than I thought at first, so many little secrets, Easter eggs, and cool events that I didn't encounter or find. I ended up fooling around in the sandbox mode for a bit to see some of that stuff, and did you know there's a corpse lying right behind the metal door in the basement? He's been there the entire time, alongside the additional 10 or so corpses under the basement floor. If you're still somehow on the fence about playing this game, don't be. Here, I'll give you 5 reasons to play the game right now. It's free. It's free. It's free. It's free. And it's free. If you got like 50 hours to spare, then you know what to do. And while you do that, I'll be sitting here, excited to see what other random crazy bullshit the developers will add. I've seen some things here and there while editing this video, and let me tell you, the sky's the limit. On top of that, the developers have been working on the story front, both in and out of game. The in-game stuff includes the notes and various unique items like the STO drive, I think, and outside the game, the devs made multiple videos that uncover some of the mysteries of the company that Dr. Kell is working for and the Dunkel-Taylor Forest. It's great stuff that was really interesting to watch, so I'll link it as well. Suffice to say, I'm really excited to see where the story will go. As for this story, this video, we're done here. Thanks for watching.